The night my wife died, the house felt too large for one man to inhabit. The walls, once warmed by her laughter, suddenly echoed like hollow chambers in a forgotten museum, cold, spacious, and painfully silent. But nothing, not grief, not loneliness, not the weight of losing a partner of 40 years, prepared me for what my own children did next. It happened exactly 11 days after her funeral. 11 days. That was all it took for my sons and daughter to decide I no longer belonged in the home I had built with my own hands, the home whose every corner carried her scent and my sweat. And it began with 6 words that carved themselves into me like a scar that will never fade. Papa, you can't live here anymore. The day my world cracked. I sat at the old wooden dining table, her pride, her favorite piece of furniture, running my fingers over the familiar ridges she polished every Friday evening. Ahmed, my eldest, cleared his throat. His siblings, Sarah and Dawood, sat stiffly on either side of him, like 3 defendants rehearsing a verdict they were too ashamed to deliver. Papa, he finally said, we've talked about it, and we think it's time you move out. I blinked slowly, as if trying to force my ears to correct what they had heard. Move out, I repeated. Beta, this is my home. Sarah flinched as if the truth wounded her. It was Mama's home too, she said softly, and it's too painful for us to come here. We've decided to rent it out. The income can be divided between all of us. Divided. As if my life, my memories, my roots were assets to be split like inheritance. As if the house I saved for by skipping meals, taking double shifts, and repairing each crack with my own hands belonged to them more than to me. Dawood sighed impatiently. Papa, you're old. You can't live alone. It's better if you move somewhere small. We even found you a room near the highway. A room near the highway. A single, suffocating room with peeling paint, a rusted fan, and the constant stench of diesel. A place where people put things they don't want to see again. They spoke like they were doing me a favor. My hands trembled, not from age, not from fear, from heartbreak. Is that what you think of me? I whispered. A burden, someone to be placed in a corner so your lives remain comfortable. None of them answered. And silence, oh silence, can be more violent than shouted insults. The woman who would have fought for me. If my wife had been alive, she would have stood between me and that betrayal like a lioness, protecting her wounded mate. But she was gone, and grief had hollowed them in ways I had never imagined. Or perhaps it simply revealed what had always been quietly growing beneath the surface. That night I sat alone in our bedroom, staring at her framed photograph. My love, I whispered, did we raise them wrong, or did we trust them too much? Her smile in the picture didn't change. But something in me did. Something firm. Something final. If they wanted me gone, I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't plead. I wouldn't fight. I would simply walk away. And let life show them what my silence never could. The day I left, I packed 2 shirts, a sweater, and the last birthday card my wife ever wrote for me. Before stepping out, I touched the entrance where she used to wait every evening, welcoming me home with a smile that could cure any exhaustion. I expected, hoped, for at least one child to stop me. To say, no, Papa, stay. None of them did. They sat in the living room, watching me with the detached indifference people reserve for luggage on a conveyor belt. Ahmed muttered, "Good luck, Papa." Good luck. As if I were moving into a new phase of life, not being exiled from the remains of my old one. I walked out without looking back. The last thing I saw were the roses my wife planted, blooming beautifully in a home where I was no longer welcome. An unlikely new life. I didn't go to the room they picked for me. My pride rebelled. Instead, I used the small savings I'd hidden away, money my children didn't know existed, and rented a modest room in a quiet town 2 hours away. The room was simple, but to me it was freedom. A place where no one could tell me I didn't belong. The landlord, an elderly widow named Shahnaz, would often bring me tea. "You remind me of my late husband," she'd say, "strong on the outside, carrying storms on the inside." Her presence was a surprising comfort. We talked often about loss, loneliness, aging memories, about the quiet ache of being needed by no one. For the first time since my wife died, someone saw me. Not as a father, not as an obligation, not as a source of income, just as a man. The letter. 3 months passed before a letter arrived. It was from Sarah. "Papa, please come back," she wrote. "Things are not the same. We made a mistake. Ahmed is troubled. Dawood regrets everything. We need to see you, please." I read the letter 3 times. A part of me softened, but another part, the one that remembered the look on their faces as they watched me leave, stayed frozen. Apologies are easy. Remorse is cheap. I did not respond. The call that changed everything. 1 week later, Ahmed called. His voice was not the confident tone he used when he banished me. It was trembling, frantic, broken. "Papa, something happened to the house." A cold fist tightened around my heart. "What happened, Ahmed?" "It had caught fire," he whispered. "A short circuit, the roof collapsed, everything is gone." Everything. Every stitch my wife sewed. Every memory she touched. Every corner where we laughed, prayed, argued, loved. Gone. "Papa," he continued, "we want to rebuild it, and we want you to come back, not to live there, but to guide us. We need you. We really need you." For the first time, I heard sincerity. Not selfishness. Not calculation. Not convenience. Just need. Real human need. The return. 2 days later, I returned. The sight of the charred remains knocked the breath out of me. The home where we built a life now stood like the skeleton of a dream, blackened and broken. My children stood nearby, their faces etched with guilt and grief. Sarah ran to me first. Her tears were real this time. "Papa, I am so sorry. We were selfish. We let our pain make us cruel. Mama would never forgive us." Dawood took my hand and pressed it to his forehead, the gesture of apology he hadn't used since childhood. And Ahmed, the strong one, collapsed. "I have 3 kids, he sobbed, "and when I imagine them treating me the way I treated you, Papa, I feel sick. I don't know what came over us." Their remorse was raw. Not perfect, but real. They had lost their mother. And in trying to run from the memory of her, they pushed away the only part of her still alive, their father. And why decision? I looked at them, grown adults who finally understood their mistake, and something inside me loosened. "I forgive you," I said quietly, "but trust will take time to rebuild." They accepted it without argument. "Help us rebuild the home," Sarah pleaded, "not for us, for Mama. For her. For the woman who spent her life stitching this family together." "Yes," I whispered, "for her I will help." Rebuilding more than a house. For 6 months, we rebuilt the house. But more importantly, we rebuilt us. They visited me every weekend. They cooked with me, laughed with me, shared silence with me. Not because they needed anything, but because they finally realized the value of the father they almost threw away. Sometimes, life has to break what is weak in order to rebuild what is strong. The day I moved back. On the 1-year anniversary of her death, the house stood tall again, beautiful, strong, reborn. My children begged me to return permanently. To take the master bedroom. To become the center of the home again. But I smiled softly. "No," I said, I will visit, stay sometimes, but my home, the small one I built with my own hands, will remain mine. Ahmed looked confused. Why, Papa? And I answered with a truth I had earned through pain. Because independence is not a punishment, it's a blessing. I want to live the rest of my years by choice, not permission. This time they understood. Not as children, but as adults finally aware of the price of losing a parent. What I learned. In the quiet that followed, I realized. Sometimes you must walk away not to punish others, but to protect yourself. And sometimes distance teaches what love could not. My children broke my heart. Life humbled them. And in the end, pain taught us to love better. My wife would have been proud. The ending. Every Friday now, they visit my small home. We eat together, talk together, heal together. And every night when they leave and silence wraps around me again, I whisper toward the sky. Thank you for the pain that brought us back to each other. Because my life did not end the day I walked away from my children. It truly began. Moral of the story. True love and loyalty cannot be measured by comfort or convenience. Sometimes the people closest to us forget our worth until life humbles them and shows them what they almost lost. Distance, though painful, can become the teacher that softens hearts and awakens remorse. Forgiveness can rebuild what was broken, but boundaries protect what was rebuilt. In the end, respect is the foundation of every relationship. Without it, even a home becomes just walls.